Chapter 23. Blood and Obsidian. My hands shake as I pull on the fur-lined boots Malira made for me. Her stitching is as much art as it is craft, tiny patterns hidden in the seams. Tucks Clay, I miss her encouraging words. I stuff the last of my meager possessions into a makeshift pack. The pre-dawn air is cool on my skin, a reminder of how little time we have left. I glance at Zolesh, who's double-checking his weapons with practiced efficiency. "You sure about this, cousin?" Zolesh whispers, his eyes scanning the silent village. I swallow hard, pushing down the doubt threatening to overwhelm me. "No," I admit, "but Melnin's right. If we stay..." I don't need to finish the thought. We both know what's at stake. Ekra's influence grows by the day, and I've seen the way she looks at me, like I'm a problem that needs solving, a threat to be eliminated. As I shoulder my pack, my eyes drift to Tornu's empty hut frame. My chest tightens. Am I doing the right thing? Leaving everything behind? But then I remember my promise, to see the world beyond our borders, to live, not just survive. "Where we go together," Zolesh says, his hand on my shoulder. "You're not alone in this." I nod, grateful for his presence. We've been over the plan a dozen times, but I still can't quite believe we're doing this. The Sunatak village is our first stop. From there, who knows? The world is vast, and for once, that thought fills me with fear rather than excitement. I hope the Sunatak shamans can help me understand this mysterious power, or these voices that don't seem to fucking help me save the people around me. We move silently through the sleeping village, every shadow a potential threat. My heart races as we pass Ekra's hut. What if she's awake? What if she catches us? "Lax," Zolesh murmurs. "You too tense. Gonna give us way." I try to loosen my shoulders, but it's hard when every rustle of leaves sounds like approaching footsteps. We're almost at the palisade when a wolf howls in the distance. We freeze, our eyes meeting in shared panic. For a moment, all I can hear is the pounding of my own heart. Then silence. The wolf doesn't howl again. We wait, barely breathing, for what feels like an eternity before we dare to move. As we reach the palisade, I hesitate. This is it. Once we cross this barrier, there's no turning back. Am I really ready to leave everything I've ever known? Zolesh must sense my hesitation. "Yorin," he says softly, "remember why we do this. For Tornu. For you people." We scale the palisade quickly, dropping silently to the other side. As my feet hit the ground, I feel a weight lift from my shoulders. We did it. We're out. But as I look back at the sleeping village, my home, my entire world for so long, I can't help but wonder, am I making the biggest mistake of my life? No time for doubts now. The sun will be up soon, and we need to put as much distance between us and the village as possible before Ekra realizes we're gone. With one last glance at everything I've ever known, I turn and follow Zolesh into the unknown. Whatever comes next, there's no turning back now. Weka, help us. We're really doing this. The stench hits me before I see them. Rotting Dracolith corpses litter the ground, their once fearsome forms now bloated and grotesque. I swallow hard, fighting the urge to retch. This is what victory smells like, I suppose. Why would I enjoy it any more than the taste? Zolesh moves through the carnage with practiced ease, his eyes constantly scanning our surroundings. I try to mimic his alertness, but it's hard to focus on potential threats when I'm stepping over the very beasts that nearly destroyed my home. "We should collect some of their parts," I suggest, eyeing a particularly large specimen. "The teeth, maybe some scales. Could be useful." Zolesh shakes his head. "No time no more. Neither put distance between us and village. Shoulda done over last few days." I know he's right, but it feels wrong to leave such valuable resources behind. Then again, what do I know about survival out here? I'm barely more than a child playing at being an explorer. As we push deeper into the forest, the familiar gives way to the unknown. I've been this far before, sure, but always with the safety of the village at my back. Now, each step takes us further from everything I've ever known. The trees seem to grow taller, their canopy thicker. Shadows dance at the edge of my vision, and I can't shake the feeling that we're being watched. "Zolesh," I whisper, "do you feel that? Like something's following us?" He grunts, not slowing his pace. "Always something watching in forest. Trick is knowing what to worry about." His calm only serves to heighten my anxiety. And how exactly do we know what to worry about? Zolesh stops so abruptly I nearly walk into him. He turns, fixing me with a hard stare. "You wanted this, cousin. Wanted a explore. See world. Can't do that if jumping at every shadow." I feel my face flush with shame and anger. "I'm not jumping at shadows," I snap. "I'm being cautious. Isn't that what you taught me?" "Taught you to be alert," Not paranoid, he retorts. Need balance. Too scared, you miss the real danger. We glare at each other for a moment, the tension thick between us. I know he's right, but admitting it feels like swallowing sand. A sudden rustle in the undergrowth breaks our standoff. We both whirl towards the sound, weapons at the ready. My heart pounds in my chest as I strain to see through the dense foliage. For a breathless moment, nothing moves. Then, a small, furry hare darts out from behind the bushes, pausing to sniff the air before scampering away. The absurdity of the situation hits me, and I can't help but laugh. It comes out shaky, but it breaks the tension. Zolesh's stern expression cracks into a wry smile. See, not all shadow hide monsters. I nod, taking a deep breath to steady myself. You're right. I'm sorry. This is just... It's a lot. His face softens. No, it is. But you strong, Yoren. Stronger than you think. Just need to trust yourself. You was getting more sure of yourself. Now it's like you forgetting your strengths. Yeah. Funny how losing the people closest to you can do that. Still, his words bolster my courage. I straighten my shoulders, trying to project a confidence I don't quite feel. All right, then. Let's keep moving. We've got a long way to go. As we resume our journey, I make a conscious effort to temper my fear with curiosity. Yes, the forest is dangerous, but it's also beautiful. I try to see it through Tornu's eyes, imagining the stories he'd weave about each strange plant or curious insect we encounter. The sun climbs higher in the sky, filtering through the leaves in dappled patterns. We've put a good distance between us and the village now. The cliff looms before us, a towering wall of rock that seems to touch the sky. I've been here before, with Tornu, but it feels like a lifetime ago. Was it really only a few months? We climb now, Zolesh says, his eyes scanning the sheer face. You done this before, yeah? I nod, swallowing hard. Yeah, but it was different then. Zolesh gives me a knowing look. You stronger now. Better. We do this together. As we begin our ascent, my muscles remember the motions, finding handholds and footholds with an ease that surprises me. I'm not the same scared kid who struggled up this cliff, desperate to prove himself. Halfway up, my hand finds a familiar crevice. I pause, a lump forming in my throat. Tornu had helped me here, his strong voice guiding me to safety. Now that voice is silent, buried in the earth we left behind. You okay, cousin? Zolesh calls from above. I blink back tears, forcing myself to keep moving. Yeah, just... memories. We climb in silence for a while. The only sounds are labored breathing and the scrape of rock against skin. With each foot of progress, I feel the weight of everything I've lost, everything I've gained. Near the top, I reach for a handhold and feel my grip slip. For a heart-stopping moment, I'm falling, the ground far below rushing up to meet me. Then Zolesh's hand is there, gripping my wrist with iron strength. Got you, he grunts, hauling me up. As we collapse on the summit, panting, I'm struck by the realization that Tornu isn't here to see this, to see how far I've come. The thought threatens to overwhelm me. He would be proud, Zolesh says softly, as if reading my mind. You uncle. He see you from the vale now, smiling. I nod, not trusting myself to speak. After a moment, we stand and turn to look out over the other side of the cliff. The vista that greets us is both familiar and strange. The forest stretches out below, a sea of green broken by glittering streams and hidden clearings. My eyes are once more drawn to movement, to flashes of color and strange shapes that speak of life beyond anything I've known. There really is such a vast array of creatures out there. I'm convinced I could visit this cliff every day for the rest of my life and see a new form of life each time. A herd of creatures that look like a cross between deer and giant rabbits bound through a meadow, their long ears twitching alertly. In a nearby grove, I spot what appears to be a tree come to life, its branches swaying despite the lack of wind, leaves shimmering with an inner light. Further out, a flock of birds with iridescent feathers and long, serpentine necks soar in perfect formation. And in a distant clearing, I catch a glimpse of something massive and lumbering, its hide covered in what looks like living stone. The sight fills me with awe, but it's tempered now by knowledge and loss. These aren't just wonders to be marveled at. They're potential threats, unknowns in a world that's proven far more dangerous than I ever imagined. So much out there, Zolesh murmurs. So much we not know. I nod, feeling a mix of excitement and trepidation. Yeah, it's beautiful. And terrifying. We stand there for a long moment, taking in the view. I think about how far I've come, from that naive boy who first climbed this cliff to the person I am now. I've lost so much, seen things I never could have imagined. But I'm still here, still fighting. As we prepare to descend to the other side, I take one last look at the world spread out before us. Whatever comes next, Whatever challenges lie ahead, I know I'm ready to face them. For my tribe, for Tornu, for Kyra, for myself. Let's go, I say to Zolash, my voice steady and determined. We've got a long way to go. He nods, a small smile of approval on his face. Together, we start our descent, heading towards whatever fate awaits us in the vast, unknown world below. The forest stretches endlessly before us, each tree blending into the next. As we walk, my mind wanders, settling on thoughts of home, of Kyra. I can't help but compare her to the other girls I've known. Lolly, with her sharp edges and sharper tongue, always ready for a fight. The Sunatak girls, hardened by their brutal way of life, their eyes cold and calculating, even at a young age. And then there's Kyra. Kyra, who's somehow managed to retain her warmth despite everything we've been through. Her strength isn't in her ability to hurt others, but in her capacity to care, to heal. I remember the gentleness of her hands against my skin, the fierce determination in her eyes as she fought to protect our people. What would she think of this journey? I can almost hear her voice, a mix of excitement and concern, had we parted under different circumstances. Be careful, Yoren, she'd say, her eyes sparkling with that familiar mix of worry and adventure. But don't forget to really see the world out there. Bring back stories that would make even Tornu jealous. The thought brings a smile to my face, quickly followed by a pang of longing. I miss her. Roan's breath. I miss her more than I thought possible. I think of the Sunatak village we're heading towards. Last time I was there, I was struck by how different their women were from Kyra. Tough, uncompromising, with none of Kyra's compassion. I remember one girl, about Kyra's age, gutting at Draculus without flinching, her face a mask of indifference. At the time, I thought it was impressive. Now I'm not so sure. Would Kyra change out here? Become hardened like them? The thought sends a chill down my spine. I hope not. Her strength has always been in her ability to stay kind in a cruel world, to find beauty where others see only danger. I imagine her reactions to what we've seen so far, the awe in her eyes at the vastness of the forest close to our borders, the way she'd study the strange plants we've encountered, always curious, always learning. I bet those blank blossoms Tornu and I saw would take a liking to her, too. Her eyes, a deep forest green that seems to change shade with her moods, flecked with gold when the sunlight hits them just right. The way her dark hair falls in waves down her back, catching the light like a raven's wing. Her smile, rare these days, but all the more precious for it, lighting up her whole face and making the small scar on her chin, a remnant from a childhood adventure she and Chiron shared, crinkle slightly. The strength in her arms, lean muscle built from years of hard work and play, along with the more recent training from Zolesh, contrasting with the gentleness of her hands when she tends to wounds or comforts the younger children. Even the small things, the light dusting of freckles across her nose that only appear in the height of summer, the way she bites her lower lip when she's deep in thought, the graceful curve of her neck when she tilts her head back to laugh. Roan's breath. When did I start noticing all these details? The realization hits me like a punch to the gut. I'm not just missing my friend. I'm longing for her in a way I've never experienced before. Keep up, cousin, Zolesh's voice cuts through my musings. Not time for daydreaming. I nod, pushing thoughts of Kyra to the back of my mind. But as we continue our trek, I can't help but hold on to the warmth of those memories bring. In this vast unknown world, they're a reminder of home, of what I'm fighting for. And maybe, just maybe, they're a reminder of who I want to be when all this is over. Someone worthy of the faith Kyra's placed in me. Someone who can bring hope back to our people, not just more violence. With renewed determination, I pick up my pace. Whatever lies ahead, I'll face it. For our people, for Kyra, for the future we might still have if I can just make it through this journey. The sun hangs high overhead, its heat beating down through the gaps in the canopy. We've been walking for, I don't know how long. Hours? Days? Time blurs when every tree looks the same and your feet ache with each step. I wipe sweat from my brow, grimacing at the grime on my hand. Roan's breath, I stink. Makes me almost miss the communal baths back home. Almost. How much further? I ask, trying to keep the whine out of my voice. I'm not a child anymore. I can handle this. Zolesh grunts, his eyes never stopping their constant scan of our surroundings. About halfway. Maybe less. Halfway. The word sits heavy in my chest. We've come so far, yet we're only halfway there. And what then? The Sunatak village is just the first stop on a journey with no clear destination. Maybe we should rest, I suggest, eyeing a fallen log that looks perfect for sitting. Just for a bit. Zolesh shakes his head. Not safe. Neither keep moving. I bite back a frustrated sigh. Easy for him to say. He's probably used to trekking through forests for days on end. Me? I'm more used to sitting by a fire, listening to Tornu's stories. Tornu. The thought of him sends a pang through my chest. What would he think of me now? Would he be proud? Or would he? A sharp crack echoes through the forest, cutting off my thoughts. We both freeze, eyes darting around for the source of the noise. What was that? I whisper, my hand instinctively going to the knife at my belt. Zolesh doesn't answer. His body tenses, a drawn bowstring. He gestures for me to stay put as he creeps forward, silent as a shadow. My heart pounds as we edge closer to the clearing. What I see there makes my blood run cold. A massive, gray-skinned bipedal creature stands in the center, easily twice the size of any man. Beside it, a smaller dracolith thrashes on what looks like a leash? Rowan's breath, what is this? The gray beast roars in frustration, the sound chillingly familiar. Before I can process the implications, it lashes out, snapping the dracolith's spine with sickening ease. Beside me, Zolesh tenses, his face contorting with rage. We kill it, he hisses. Now. Wait, I whisper, grabbing his arm. We don't know what we're dealing with. Maybe we should... But Zolesh is already on his feet, charging into the clearing. You dare, he shouts, his accent thicker with anger. You dare control forests? Slaughter its creatures? The gray beast whirls, its pig-like face twisting into a savage grin. It bellows, beating its chest with massive fists. Fuck, so much for avoiding unnecessary violence. But as I watch them square off, realization hits me like a charging dracolith. These creatures, they must be behind the attack on our village. Anger surges through me, hot and fierce. Images flash in my mind. Tornu's broken body, Ansel's final stand, Kyra's tear-stained face. Before I know it, I'm on my feet, running to Zolesh's side. You, I shout, my voice cracking. You sent the dracoliths to destroy my village. You killed my people. The beast's beady eyes fix on me, confusion giving way to cruel amusement. It grunts something in a guttural language I don't understand. Yorin, Zolesh growls. No time for talk. We end this now. Part of me knows he's right. The thing is dangerous, a threat to everything we hold dear. But another part hesitates. Is this really the answer? More violence? More death? The beast doesn't give me time to decide. It charges, moving with impossible speed for its size. Zolesh dives one way, I roll the other. The ground shakes as its fist impacts where we just stood. As we scramble to our feet, I exchange a glance with Zolesh. His eyes burn with a fury I've never seen before. Together, he snarls. I nod, pushing aside my doubts. Whatever this creature is, whatever it represents, it's a threat. And threats, as Zolesh has taught me, must be eliminated. But as we move to attack, a smaller voice in the back of my mind whispers, is this who I want to be? A killer driven by vengeance? I don't have time to answer. The beast is upon us, and all that matters now is survival. Pilly, help me. I hope we're making the right choice.
Krud rukshak vak. Trag orzgu zuldun.
What the fuck? The guttural sounds wash over me, harsh and foreign. My mind reels, trying to make sense of what I'm hearing. Is this a language? It sounds more like the growls of some feral beast than any form of speech I've ever encountered. A chill runs down my spine as I realize the implications. This creature isn't just some mindless monster. It's intelligent. It can communicate. And if it can communicate, it can plan, strategize. The attack on our village wasn't just a random occurrence. It was orchestrated. I glance at Zolesh, seeing the same shock and confusion mirrored in his eyes. We're not just facing a physical threat here. We're up against something far more dangerous than we imagined. As the creature stands before us, my eyes can't help but dart between our weapons and its. Zolesh's arsenal is impressive. His new large knife, a wicked thing with a serrated edge that almost glistens in the dappled sunlight overhead. I remember watching him craft it from the jaw of one of the largest dracoliths we felled, splitting and sharpening it until the blade could slice through a patch of leather with ease. The blade, nearly the length of his forearm, gleams with a primal ferocity that matches its wielder. His other bone knife, more traditional but no less deadly, sits ready at his hip. The bone-tipped spear he scavenged during the attack on our village looks almost delicate in comparison to the rest of his gear. My own weapons feel paltry in comparison. The bone knife-tipped spear I scrounged together during the assault is a comforting weight in my hands, but I can't shake the feeling it'll snap like kindling against this beast's hide. Another bone knife strapped to my waist seems laughably small now. What use is a boy's tool against a monster? I guess we did kill several dracoliths with them, but looking at this creature's armor, I'm not so sure. But it's the creature's weaponry that truly makes my blood run cold. That jagged obsidian blade looks like it could cleave a man in two without effort. The hand axe, cruel, jagged, and compact, made of the same obsidian stone, promises swift, brutal strikes. And those aren't even considering the beast itself, all rippling muscle and savage intent, its gray skin looking tougher than any armor I've ever seen. The black hardened leather across its chest, and are those skulls on its shoulders? They only add to its terrifying visage. Roan's breath, what chance do we stand against this? Our weapons, crafted for hunting and defense, seem like children's toys compared to the instruments of war this beast wields. But we have no choice. We have to fight. We have to win. Because if we don't, I have a sickening feeling that our village, our entire people, might be next on this monster's list. The creature takes a menacing step forward, still grinning that tusked grin. I have no idea what it said, but the intent is clear in its eyes. We're prey, nothing more. Tuck's dirt, what have we stumbled into? It lunges forward with surprising speed for its size. Zolesh dives one way, I roll the other. The ground shakes as the beast's fist impacts where we just stood. As we scramble to our feet, I exchange a glance with Zolesh. We're in way over our heads, but there's no running now. Whatever this creature is, wherever it came from, one thing's clear. It's a threat to everything and everyone we know, and somehow, some way, we have to stop it. The beast charges, its massive form moving with a speed that belies its size. I barely have time to raise my spear before it's upon us, that wicked obsidian blade whistling through the air. Zolesh dives to the side, but I'm not quick enough. The blade catches my spear, cleaving through the wood like it's nothing more than a twig. Shit. I stumble backward, my heart pounding so hard I can feel it in my throat. Yorin, move! Zolesh shouts, already circling around behind the creature. I don't need to be told twice. I roll to the side, feeling the rush of air as the beast's hand axe embeds itself in the ground where I just stood. Roan's breath, that was close. Zolesh strikes, his Dracolith jaw knife flashing in the dappled sunlight. It scores a long, deep line across the creature's back, drawing a roar of pain and fury, but the damage seems superficial, barely penetrating the thick, gray hide. It whirls, faster than anything that size has any right to move. Zolesh anticipates the attack, ducking under the swinging fist and slashing upward with his second knife. But the beast isn't just strong, it's skilled. It twists, catching Zolesh's wrist mid-strike and wrenching hard. There's a sickening pop, and Zolesh's knife falls to the forest floor. But Zolesh doesn't cry out. Instead, he uses the beast's grip as leverage, swinging his body up and driving his knee into its jaw. Teeth and tusks crack under the impact as it lets out a roar that I feel rumble in my chest. The same damn roar that preceded the Dracolith attack on my village. But the victory is short-lived. The creature's other hand comes up, grabbing Zolesh's leg and slamming him into the ground with an earth-shaking force. Zolesh's head bounces off a protruding root, and he goes still, blood pooling beneath his matted hair. No! The scream tears from my throat before I can stop it. Not again. I can't lose anyone else. Rage and fear surge through me in equal measure. I charge forward, my bone knife feeling pathetically small in my hand. The beast turns to face me, a cruel grin spreading across its tusked face.
Cause Vrock!
It snarls, raising its obsidian blade. I duck under the swing, feeling the blade whistle over my head, but I'm inside its guard now. I lash out with my knife, aiming for the gap between those horrific skull shoulder plates and its tough chest armor. The blade sinks in, and I feel a surge of triumph as its dark blood rushes over my fingers. Then the beast's hand closes around my throat, lifting me off the ground like I'm nothing more than a rag doll. I can't breathe. Black spots dance at the edges of my vision as I claw desperately at the massive hand crushing my windpipe. Is this how I die? After everything I've survived, is this where my journey ends? Through the haze of encroaching unconsciousness, I see Zolesh stagger to his feet. No, I think desperately. Run! Save yourself! But he doesn't run. Instead, he hefts his spear, takes aim, and throws. The spear arcs through the air, a deadly missile hurtling toward us. For a heart-stopping moment, I think it's going to hit me instead. Then it sinks deep into the beast's shoulder, right where the skull plate meets flesh. The creature roars in pain and fury, its grip on my throat loosening just enough for me to suck in a desperate breath. As I fall to the ground, gasping and retching, I see Zolesh charge forward, both knives drawn. The battle's not over, not by a long shot, but we're still in this fight. And Roan, help me, I'm not going down without taking this monster with me. I surge to my feet, my vision still swimming from the lack of oxygen. Zolesh is a blur of motion, his knives flashing as he dances around the beast, but I can see he's favoring his right arm. That wrenching move must have done some damage. Zolesh! I rasp, my voice raw. We need to work together. He nods, understanding flashing in his eyes. This is life or death. The beast bellows, ripping the spear from its shoulder and hurtling it at me. I dive, feeling it graze my leg as I roll. Disrupt it! Zolesh shouts, circling behind the creature. Right. Distract the massive murderous beast. No problem. I feint low with my knife, grabbing a handful of dirt and flinging it into the monster's eyes as I swoop down. It roars, more in anger than pain, but it's enough. Zolesh strikes, his knife finding the soft spot behind its knee. The creature stumbles, and for a moment I think we might be nearing the end. Then it whirls, its obsidian blade catching Zolesh across the chest. Blood sprays and Zolesh goes down hard. Tuck, take it all. Can this bastard just die already? Something snaps inside me. The world narrows to a pinpoint. Everything fading except the beast and me. I charge forward, ducking under its swing and driving my knife deep into its side as its blood pools on the ground beside it. The beast howls, its hand coming in with a vicious uppercut that sends me flying. I hit a tree, pain exploding across my back, but I don't stop. I can't stop. I stagger to my feet, spitting blood. The beast advances, murder in its eyes.
Kos vrak mag.
It snarls. I don't know what that means, I growl, but I'm guessing it's not you win, I surrender. It swings its obsidian axe, but I'm ready this time. I duck under the strike, driving my shoulder into its midsection. It's like hitting a wall of muscle, but I feel it stagger a step back. Then Zolesh is there, blood streaming from his chest, but still fighting. He slashes at the beast's hamstring, drawing another roar of pain. We move in tandem, his years of training mixing with my... Shit, I don't even know what it is that's come over me lately. All I know is I'm not going to stop swinging until this fucker meets Tuck. Face to ugly face. When I strike high, Zolesh goes low. When he feints left, I attack from the right. We're a whirlwind of bone blades and blood, fighting with everything we have. But it's not enough. The beast is too strong, too skilled. A backhanded swing catches me in the ribs, and I hear something crack. Zolesh takes a kick to the chest that sends him sprawling. We're starting to slip. Zolesh is losing blood fast. My muscles are on fire, screaming for me to stop. They've done more than their share of work in the battles of these last weeks. No, I made a promise to myself, to Tornu. As the beast advances on Zolesh, I see my chance. I sprint forward, leaping onto its back. My knife finds the gap between those skull shoulder plates, sinking deep into flesh. The beast roars, thrashing wildly. I cling on for dear life, stabbing again and again and again, and fuck, I don't know when to stop. When is this monster gonna die? Blood flows hot over my hands. Then I'm in the air, the beast having flung me off. I hit the ground hard, my head cracking against a rock. The world spins, and I taste copper in my mouth. Through blurry vision, I see the beast stumbling, blood pouring from a dozen wounds, but it's still standing, still coming for us. What is this thing made of? Zolesh crawls to my side, his breathing ragged.
Together,
he gasps. I nod, gripping my knife tighter. If this is how we die, we aren't doing it without a fucking fight. The beast charges, but its movements are slower now, less coordinated. We roll in opposite directions at the last second, and the creature crashes into the tree behind us. As I push myself up, my hand brushes against something in my waistband. The obsidian shard. I'd almost forgotten about it. A memory flashes through my mind. The day of the honey heist with Chiron and Kyra, finding this strange black stone embedded in the forest floor. Its edge gleams in the dappled sunlight, looking eerily similar to the creature's deadly blade. Without hesitation, I pull it out. It's not much, but it's something, and right now, we need every advantage we can get. Zolesh, I shout. One more time. He nods, understanding in his eyes. We charge together, a final, desperate assault. The beast roars, swinging its massive arms. Zolesh ducks low, his knife flashing toward its legs. I go high, the obsidian shard clutched tightly in my hand. Time seems to slow. I see the creature's eyes widen in surprise as it recognizes the material in my hand. Its arm comes up, trying to block my strike, but it's too late. The shard slices through the hardened leather armor like it's nothing more than cloth. It sinks deep into the beast's chest, finding its heart with deadly precision. The creature's roar cuts off abruptly, replaced by a wet, gurgling sound. It staggers, eyes wide with shock and pain. Zolesh doesn't waste the opportunity. His knife finds the beast's throat, opening it in a spray of dark blood. For a long moment, no one moves. Then slowly, the beast topples backward. It hits the ground with a thud that shakes the forest floor. We stand there, panting, covered in blood, both ours and the creature's. I can hardly believe it. The adrenaline fades, and suddenly every injury makes itself known. My ribs scream in agony, my back feels like one massive bruise, and my head throbs where it hit the rock. I look down at the obsidian shard in my hand, now slick with the creature's blood, before I slip it back into the fold of my waistband. Who would have thought this little piece of stone, a memento from a childish adventure, would end up saving our lives? Zolesh doesn't look much better than I feel. The gash across his chest is still bleeding, and his right arm hangs at an odd angle.
We need a move,
he grunts, already gathering what's left of our supplies.
More maybe come.
I nod, wincing at the movement. Yeah, let's patch ourselves up as best we can and get the fuck out of here. We work quickly, binding our wounds with strips torn from our tunics. It's not pretty, but it'll have to do until we reach the Sunatak village. As I tie off a bandage around Zolesh's chest, a thought strikes me. Hey, Zolesh, thanks. for not dying back there. He meets my eyes, a chuckle escaping his lips.
We in this together, cousin. Always.
I nod, feeling a lump in my throat. Then, supporting each other, we limp away from the clearing, leaving the body of our monstrous foe behind. But not before I grab and sheathe its obsidian blade in my waistband, opposite my bone knife. Zolesh does similarly, claiming the crude obsidian hand axe for himself. Whatever comes next, whatever dangers lie ahead, at least we're not facing them alone.